welcome to Knitting on the Farm podcast. My name is Angela and this is where I share my crafting life and some farming life and anything else that just happens to be going on that's of interest. I am coming to you from County Down in Northern Ireland, and this is Monday the 12th of July 2020. It's the afternoon here and it is quite a dull day, and it's not terribly nice for the time of year that it is, being it summertime. But anyway, we have to take what we get. So I intended to podcast last week, but with one thing and another it just didn't seem to happen. And I know if I don't do it this afternoon, it'll not happen this week either. And like everybody else that podcasts, as the weeks go on, the harder it is to actually lift the camera. You get more nervous and you get more stuff around you, and it just becomes impossible to nearly do. So anyway, we'll go today and we'll see how it's going. So I hope from the last time everybody's keeping well, and I think in a lot of countries we're beginning to see what the new normal is going to be like, as they say. Here some of the lockdown restrictions have lifted quite quickly, and there's a few areas where there's a bit of concern about hotspots, as they call them, but so far it's so good. We're still just keeping ourselves to ourselves as much as possible and trying to do our wee bit to make sure that that COVID doesn't catch a grip again. So the agenda for today then, I'll just check here. I'll give you the introduction of where you can find me. I have lots of giveaways to announce, and I want to chat a little bit about our Zoom room, about Ravelry, and then the rest of it's going to go through some finished objects, what's on the needles, what I'm hoping to knit next, what Postie has brought, some Ravelry chat, and then we'll just finish up with some day-to-day chat if there's anything left at that stage. So places that you can find me are just all the usual. I'm on Instagram as KnittingontheFarm with underscores. I'm on Ravelry as KnittingontheFarm, which is all one word. And the podcast group is Knitting on the Farm, which is all one word again, podcast group. If you want to contact me privately, my email is knittingonthefarm@gmail.com, and you can also send a private message through Ravelry or a direct message through Instagram. Yeah, so those are all the places you can find me. I also just wanted to say about the chat room that I have, the Zoom room. I call it the Crafty Zoom Meetup, and it's on a Thursday evening. It's at 8 o'clock BST time, and there is some ladies on there from America, so that works out about 3:30 American time, which is, it seems to be working so far, so we'll leave it as that time to see. It's going really well. There's a lovely bunch of ladies, and it's very, very light-hearted. I would say if you want to do a couple of hours of serious knitting, you won't get them done because it's mostly laughter and a bit of carry on. Last week we had a quiz, and one of the ladies was our quiz master. This week we're having a quiz, but each person is putting together a couple of questions, and Gayna from Tales of Cuckoo Land, she suggested that, and the idea is that we are all at least going to get 2 questions correct. So I'm really looking forward to that, for a bit of fun. There's always a new someone coming along, so don't feel that you're a bit late coming to the room, because you'll be made very welcome. And anybody that has found Zoom maybe a wee bit of a challenge to get into, they've said they've really enjoyed it, so that's very encouraging for me. So it'll be great to see some new faces on Thursday evening. The code for the room will be in the links bar down below, and if you just send me a direct message then, whatever way is convenient for you, I'll send you the password. It just really keeps the room safe, and I sort of know who's coming in, and it makes sure that everybody can feel comfortable. So that is the Zoom chat room. I'll talk about Ravelry a little later on. So I think we'll start with some of the giveaways. If this podcast gets too long, I'll put the giveaways onto a Postie extra, but hopefully it'll be okay. Last podcast I said about 500 subscribers, and I really want to thank everybody that has subscribed to the podcast. There's been a few more new subscribers last week, because I think Nicky from Sheep and Cheerful podcast mentioned me, and there's been a few subscribers I've came across from there. So thank you very much. Anybody that's returning that seems to like listening to me, thank you so much as well. And I really enjoy it. And if you enjoy the podcast, just like and subscribe. And if you hit the bell down below, it'll let you know then when there's a new podcast up on YouTube. So I'll start with the giveaway then for the 500 subscribers. It was just based on comments left below the last podcast, and I asked everyone that wanted to take part just to mention what their favourite thing was to knit. I think probably socks was the main thing, and there was quite a few really enjoyed knitting sweaters, which surprised me, because while I enjoy knitting sweaters, I love the smaller items, so that was encouraging. So there was just one winner for that, and the prize, I don't have it here, but the prize is a pattern, and it was kindly gifted by Ellie from Craft House Magic, and her website is www.crafthousemagik.co.uk. Don't be alarmed with Lola barking, she's just being quite a grump and quite unsettled today. I'm not sure what's wrong. She's had me up most mornings from 5 o'clock. She's just going through a really unsettled phase. But anyway, that's something else. So where were we? Yes, 500 subscribers. I say it was just based on comments down below the last YouTube video, and I didn't draw the prizes while I would be on here because I just got into a big enough faff doing them, so you'll have to take my word. I used Siri to pick a random number, and the winner was Sassy Gal 2007 LEP 49. I will put the winners down below, and I also have I'll also put it in at the end on a slide. So that's Sassy Gal 2007 LEP 49. So if you get in touch with me, then I'll get in contact with Ellie, and I'll see what way she wants to work getting the pattern to you. So thank you very much, Ellie, for that. I really appreciate it. It's a good way to get a prize instantly, isn't it? You don't have to wait for it coming. Then the other prizes that we have are for the make along that was in the Ravelry group, and this was my first make along, and I asked Kaz from the Wee So and So to help me, and she just kept me right on what to do and how to make sure it went smoothly, and I hope it did. There was some great chatter went on, and there's some amazing finished objects. Sorry that I didn't get anything entered. I probably didn't get involved enough as I should for hosting it, but hopefully I'll get better as time goes on. I know there was a lot of chat went back and forward, and I've read each one of them, and I've seen all the finished objects, and they were all beautiful. So for the chatter thread then, there's one prize for the chatter thread and in my pod group, and that was for sweaters, and then Kaz drew her prizes on her last podcast then for the accessories. So I know it's up, and you can pop across and see who won what there. So for the chatter thread then, I drew the winner, and it was Peggy Crochets. So congratulations to Peggy. And the prize for the chatter thread is some beautiful stitch markers that were donated by Lindsay. Lindsay's a girl I've got to know quite well through Instagram, and she her shop and her Instagram handle is Stitch Create Love. She just has opened her shop. She's making some beautiful project bags and some really nice stitch markers, and I bought a set for myself. And she also had lovely EPP or English paper piecing kits that went on sale last week. I think they're all sold, but she's definitely going to be doing more things. So she donated these progress keepers, and she made them, she said, just unique for the podcast. And they're beautiful stones. She has a lovely clover leaf in, and leaves, a teapot and a bird, so I better show them to you. If you can see, they're absolutely beautiful. Some of them are stitch markers, and some of them have the hook on them for progress keepers as well. And I love the stones. They're different, and I love these leaves come hearts here. I think they're really nice. So thank you, Lindsay, for those, and I will get those in the post to Peggy Crochets. So just get in touch with me. I presume maybe your name is Peggy, and either get in touch through Ravelry or email or Instagram to give me your mailing details, and I'll get those sent out to you. So that was the prize then for the chatter thread. Set those over there. Then I had two prizes then for the finished garment thread, and some of the finished garments were beautiful. I mean, they're all beautiful. Some of them were just they totally blew my mind. So the first winner then, who had designed and knitted, well, I don't think she designed it, but she knitted the lady finger sweater, and that was Sue McCord, and I presume your name is Sue. And again, Lindsay donated a prize for that, and it's this beautiful project bag. The fabric, it's a nice heavy type canvas. It's finished with some lovely natural twine, which I really liked, and some stitch detail here. It's a nice leaf design, and it's a box bottom bag. Now these are called, I'll show you the lining before I explain. It's a lovely, nice heavy cotton polka dot lining. These are what are called Dodge bags, and I think that was started by Ellie from Little Drops of Wonderful, and they're bags that there are supposedly to be imperfections with. Now Lindsay said what she felt about this one was that the lining was a little bit big, but I can assure you that there is absolutely nothing wrong with the bag. It's perfect. So she sent me one to choose between the two, and I'll show you mine later on. So this will be going out to you when you when you forward me your postal details, I'll get that, and of course there'll be some other little goodies inside as well. So thank you very much for taking part. I really appreciate everybody that joined into the Ravelry group. So then the second prize, excuse me, the winner was Miss Molly 805, and that's Molly, Mauly, and I think she had the lilac, it was a lilac shawl collar cardigan. I don't think I picked up the name of the pattern, but it was beautiful, and the price for it is some lovely Malabrigo yarn. It is worsted weight, there's 2 skeins, and it's approximately, I think, about 410 yards. The colourway is 502, and it is American, I think it's American Beauty. Yes, American Beauty. It's quite it's maybe coming up pretty accurate there. It's definitely more rust than red, so I think it'll be really nice to knit up into something, and I think there's plenty there to knit a cowl or a hat and mittens. So I will get those out to you, Miss Molly 805, as soon as you give me your contact details, and I'll keep it open to the next podcast, and if I haven't heard from anybody by then, well then I'll redraw it before next podcast. So those were the prize winners for the chatter thread, the finished object thread, and the 500 subscriber giveaway. Okay, let's move to some knitting. I think that would be better, wouldn't it? So we'll start off with some finished things. Gosh, that took longer than what I expected, so better get a move on. So I finished my Faithful Friend socks. These socks are entries into the Crazy Sock Ladies Summer Sock Camp 2020. So I sort of got onto a sock rabbit hole, and my husband told me last night not to knit any more socks. I have far too many, but I'll have to work a way around that, won't I? I couldn't not have socks on the needles. Anyway, these are the Faithful Friend socks, and the pattern's a paid for pattern, and it's by Danny of Little Bobbins, and I've quite a few of her patterns, and they're beautiful. I really like, they're so well written, and I just love the heel, and I love the makeup of them. The attention to detail is fantastic. So I chose my April sock club from the Life of Birds, Sherry Aris, to knit these. There was a couple of other girls had the same yarn. It turned out when we were chatting, so we said we would knit along together, and I have mine finished, and I would imagine the other girls have probably theirs finished now by 2. They're probably theirs finished by now as well. So this is the yarn. It was Goldfinch. I have the 2 of them, so I can show you. I'll show you one. I'll show you the cuff. So because the colorways were this sort of nice golden color, and then the contrast was the pink, and sort of the natural, and that's what I have left. I didn't actually weigh it, but I'm sure there's probably about 30-35 grams left in that. So the only changes I made to the pattern were I had cast on in my first sock 64 stitches, and I did the Estonian cast on to try it, and for some reason my cuffs just, they're just not pleasing me at the minute. They just seem to be a tad on the tight side, and I don't know why, because I'm still, while I changed needle size for the leg and foot, etc., down to 2 mils, I still did my cuff on the 2.25s, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So the first one I did the 64 stitches and I wasn't happy with it, and the next sock I said I'm going to cast on the 68 stitches. So it's the same Estonian cast on. I did my usual knit row after I cast on, and then I did 5 rows in the contrast colour, because I just wanted it, I wanted it to be obvious, and 1 row wasn't really doing that. I did 20 then 20 rows, which is 25 in total, in 1x1 twisted rib, and then I started the pattern. I did 6 of the 12 row repeats, and I did the eye of partridge. Hey, can you see that? Yeah, I did the eye of partridge heel, and then the pattern just on the front of the foot. When I come to here, I did 2 rows in the contrast, 2 rows in the main, and then I started the toe. It's not terribly obvious actually, but I just thought it just meant that the eyelets or the lace here just wasn't at the very top of my toes. So yeah, that's the Faithful Friend socks by Danny of Little Bobbins, and in the colourway Goldfinch. So I was pleased that I got those finished. I actually just finished them last night. The other socks then that I had on the needles last time were the Wish You Were Here socks. And they are by Vera Sanson. Oh, are they? Yes, Vera Sanson, and it's the kitchen sink shop. This was a free pattern, and they're done as shorties, but I did them just as my usual sock recipe. The yarn for these then was from Elm Tree Yarns, my friend Diane, and that's her yarn wrap, and that was the yarn. It was called Narrowboat, and if you've seen her photographs up on Instagram, you'll see that it's just perfect. And so it is. And these are the finished socks. I love the micro striping. I didn't actually realize that was what it was going to be. So excuse me, they're a left and a right. Yeah. So the contrast then was just from my stash. I think it was maybe from last year's sock club. And I just did a couple of rows at the top. And I love the 1x1 rib in the cuff. Just the way the pattern turned out. I think that's pretty cool. And then that's the pattern. Just went down the side. And it's just the eye of partridge heel, and then the toe was per pattern. So I really love those. The yarn it's lovely and soft. As I say, it's just the 64 leg, the 48 foot, and I went up to the 25 row cuff. Those were both 64 stitches, so the fit just okay, but the 68 works much better. Okay, so that is my 2 finished things. I have a half, oh, that was just the contrast in those socks. So I have a half finished object I don't think I had it as far as half finished last time, but these were knit. I had chose the Lottie pattern out of the 52 Weeks of Socks book that we talked about in one of the podcasts. Just putting it onto the blocker here to let you see. And this was knit out of yarn that I had left over from my Floozy cardigan. And I had asked about reversing the colours and doing the pink stripe and the green toe, and everybody said that that would be cool to do that, so I'm going to do that on the second sock. The unfortunate thing is, because of this cabling and crisscrossing, the socks are too small, but I'm going to gift them to my daughter, and I know because they're knit out of the wool left over from my cardigan, I know she'll really appreciate them. And like myself, she likes the sentimentality, so I know she'll enjoy those. The wool's beautiful. It's really nice. It's from Eden Cottage Yarns, and I definitely would purchase yarn from her again. So, and that's one of the labels, Hate and Foreplay, and I think that's just the creamy coloured label. I don't have the labels from I haven't kept the labels from the other ones. So yeah, that's a half finished object. So I'll just take a this token is thirsty work. You'll also see then on my mannequin here, I have my summer tea. And I'm not spelling it incorrectly. I think on the pattern it is actually summer tea shirt, as in tea. So this is it here. It's just a simple diamond at the top on the neck and short sleeves, and you have the choice of doing it A-line or doing some waist shaping, which I have done. I was sort of playing yarn chicken, so I stopped when I got past the increases again from the waist shaping. I have done then, let's see if I may, can you see better? I have done the sleeves. They're an eyelet sleeve, so I need to turn them up to create the eyelet. I have done the neck. Now the neck is meant to be lifted and done as a 1x1 rib. The last one that I knit, because I've knit this before, I just did the rolled collar, and I'm sure I did it the way I've done it on this one. I'll move and bring it in to let you see. I did go ahead and I cast it off, and I probably shouldn't have. You can see just here where I've lifted the stitches. I lifted them on the reverse side because I assumed when this would roll down that it would cover it, but it's not quite covering it. When I added on the extra rows, it wasn't, I did a couple of more rows and it wasn't making any difference. So what I am going to do, I think, is just tack it down where it needs to, with just a fine stitch, and I think that will be, I can show you, I think it'll be fine. I still let it roll, and I'll just roll it down, but I may well block it first and see how that turns out. This was knit in some Deep Stash Rowan Lima that I had, and it's beautiful. I really love it. It's nice and cozy. It most certainly would do with the type of weather we have here, and I have enough to, it's not just long enough, it's just not pleasing me at the minute. I have enough to put some more length on it. I don't think I'd be fit to pull it back maybe far enough for you to see, but I just have it. It's just sort of coming to your waistline on trousers, and I want to do it a wee bit longer. So I'm really pleased with it. I'm almost finished, and I most certainly will have it finished this week. Maybe another 10 or 15 rows, and just tidy up the sleeves and give the neckline a wee bit of attention. So that is my summer tea, and as Andrew says, if I had have worked on it rather than on another pair of socks, I would have had it finished. So how intelligent is he? He is super smart, because that makes, excuse me, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? When you work on something, you definitely get it finished. Okay, so that is one of the things that's on my needles, along with the Lottie socks. The other thing that's on my needles is the Mano sweater that I showed you the last time, and I told you about wanting to get the natural colour yarn to do the colour work. It arrived okay, and I haven't actually lifted it because I wanted to get this finished, because it's more appropriate for the time of year, and the Mano sweaters for coming into the autumn winter time, so I had plenty of time to finish it, I thought. So then I had knit a cardigan for my daughter-in-law, so this sort of takes me on into what's coming up next on the needles. And I had knitted out of a Sirdar commercial yarn. I think it was Sirdar number 1, and I had her here and did all the measurements as I went along, added a little bit of length that she wanted, and it was fine. Put it on the mannequin, which I always do, to sort of let the things, I like to let the garments sort of settle before I block them, because I find when they're on the mannequin, they start to relax, and it gives you a better idea, you know, on how aggressive you need to block. I did that with the cardigan, and it grew by inches by the day. Every time I walked past it, it was just dropping more and more, to the point that it was terrible. It was awful. Out of all the things I've knit, I've never come across anything that has done that before. It's actually sitting in the cupboard, and my husband keeps saying just give her to her to wear, but you know what it's like when you craft. It has to be, for me, it has to be perfect, and there's no way I would be letting that out through the door. So she still really wants something, and pressure was on then for me to find something for to knit. So that is what is coming up next then. I chose the, excuse me, just try to get it, the next section here. I chose the Ravelry cardigan by Andrea Yetman. It was on the Biscotti Yarns website. It's a free pattern, but you have to go through your PayPal card and you know, buy it, but it's you automatically get the download. So it's just an edge to edge cardigan. It'd probably be better if you're interested to look it up yourself, but it's in a DK. Of course it was in their yarn, which is beautiful, but was working out too expensive and just impractical for me to get it. It called for a merino superwash and a silk, and I did some browsing, and I love the Lovecrafts website, and the girls are so helpful in there. So I chose Debbie Bliss Relato DK. I've knit with this before, and it's beautiful. I really like it. It's an extra fine merino wool superwash. It's 100% wool, and I'll have to tell Hannah just to be a wee bit careful with it, but it's along the same colour as what she had chosen. So that's very true to colour. It's called let me see, yeah, it's called Sea Green. It's number 81, and I think because it was the first time I shopped, I was able to get 15% off, so that was really good, and it didn't work out too expensive. I just check. Yeah, it worked out just in around the £50 mark for me for a full length cardigan, you know, finishing at a 42-inch bust. I thought that wasn't too bad. Not from the point of view that I know what the wool is going to do, and I know I'll have a nice garment in the end. So that is one of the things that's coming up next. I don't have an awful lot of thoughts for other things at the moment, because I want to work on it. I want to work on my Mano sweater, and the other pattern that I do want to work on, or that I have chosen, is where did I leave it? Anyway, can I not find it now? No, I'm not sure where I've left it sitting. Let me check if I have put it under here. No. I will pause for 2 seconds and I will go and see if I can find it. Okay, so I found it, and where is that going? Ah, sticking out. Okay, so I found the pattern for socks that I want to put onto the needles. I think this was a Pedford pattern, and I think it came up on Instagram feed, and I think there was a discount automatically taken off it, if I remember. I don't think I've written down how much. I think it was maybe in around maybe came up with $2.25 or something like that. I'm not sure, but it definitely was a Pedford pattern, and it is called Midsummer Blossoms. And I just think it is beautiful. I love the shorties, and I also love the sort of ankle length. I don't have any of that length for myself, so yeah, that's my excuse for casting on another pair of socks. I have read through the pattern, and it's very well written, and I think there'll not be a problem with it at all. I think I'm a page missing. It's not going too well. Sure, it's not, but yeah, I think I will follow it just as per pattern. I probably use my own heel recipe just because the wider heel's better for my fitting. I haven't decided what yarn I'm going to knit it in. If I knit the plain pair or the unstriped pair, I think I'm going to knit them in what Postie brought that I said I would share with you this month, and it was the Sock Club. The reason why I don't share them in the month that they come is because post is slow at the moment, and I know a lot of these go out worldwide, and I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise for anybody. So this is actually May's. Yes, this is May's. June has just come at the end of June, so I don't want to. I'll show it on my next podcast. As I say, this is the Life of Birds Sock Club by Sherry Aris Designs, and it's a bird each month from both Great Britain and around the world. And this month it was the owl, and it came with this beautiful stitch marker. Some tea, always in a lovely hand sewn bag, and a lavender pouch. These are great. I always, if I'm putting up packages, you'll always get a lavender pouch, and it always comes from someone that has gifted it, and I just make them go round. So I do. These here I use for gifting socks. I also use them for I cut them down to size and resew them, and I use them for gifting chutneys and things at Christmas, granola, that type of thing. And I know a lot of people are actually making quilts out of them. I can sew very basically, so I could maybe do that too. But if you look up there, yeah, you can see I have them tied and they just sit up there, and I like them too. So this is the yarn then. It is 8525. There's 425 meters, and there's 85 meters in the mini. You might think each color is very close to all the other yarns that Sherry does, but once you knit them up, they all knit up very differently. I know if I knit shorties, I'll at least get 2 pairs out of this. And I know if I need to use a different contrast, I most certainly will have something in my basket that'll do. So pop over to her website. She has some beautiful colours. She also has a lot of thought and history behind you know, books and literature and that she dyes from. So it's well worth a visit, and it's worth following her on Instagram just to keep up with her stories. So I may well use that if I'm doing the plain. If I'm going to do the striping socks, I forgot to bring it with me. If I'm going to do these, if you remember the socks I made that were with the Felt Fusion yarn that was dyed for me, let me see if I can find them. Actually, I can show a picture in my journal. Yes. Remember I knit them as the heel toe do-si-do socks, and they had the grey mini and grey beigey speckled mainstay. I don't know whether you can see that very well or not, but if I remember, I put a photograph in. So I may well use it because I did buy 2 skeins of it at the time, so I know I definitely would have enough to do that. So I might consider that. But seeing them in the pattern done with a very a much stronger contrast, I suppose I could say. Yeah, the stronger contrast really does look the part, but I don't really have many plain yarns. They're all usually speckled or variegated, so yeah, I do have a plain cream. Okay, have to take a think about that. Needn't keep you hanging on here while I'm thinking out loud. Yeah, it was by Felt Fusion. If I use the grey. So back to then Postie. So really I don't have anything else to show you because this came in the Sock Club. I purchased the yarn for the Raverly cardigan, and what else? Yes, I did, when I was on Lindsay's website, I seen some beautiful stitch markers. Now these are Christmas ones. They're along the same lines as the ones for the prize, but there's some nice stars, a beautiful leaf, and I just love the pearls and the stones. And when you know Lindsay, you'll know automatically the thought that goes into these. If you watch her podcasts, you'll just know that there's love and thoughtfulness in every single part of them. So I purchased these, got talking to Lindsay, and I was going to buy a set for the giveaway, and Lindsay kindly donated them, and she said I'll have a bag, and she donated the bag, which I've showed you. And then she said she had another bag and I could choose between the two. So there's the one that was for the giveaway, and then there was this one. and I chose to keep this one. But if the winner of the other one really prefers this one, just drop me the message, and I don't mind. I will give this one away instead. It's not a problem at all. Again, it's another one, is what Lindsay called her dodgy bags. It has a lovely spotty contrast lining, and again, absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just a name that these bags were given, and I think they're brilliant. I like the size of them too, because they're that wee bit longer, that wee bit deeper, I suppose is the better thing to say. And again, it has the box bottom. So that's what Lindsay gifted me. Thank you very much, and no problem swapping over who won the project bag. Sue McCord, so if Sue wants to swap over, there's no problem at all. I had always seen the bags that Emma from Eldenwood Craft made, and I've never been in a position to actually buy one. And then she brought out for last weekend a goldfinch bag, and I seen it and I actually bought it. So I now have, I don't know how many bags, but isn't that just beautiful? I will show it to you with the, excuse me, with the goldfinch yarn, or if I pop that inside. You'll be fit to see. Let's see. Just see the colours, so you can see the goldfinch yarn. With the goldfinch, you can see how well it has been dyed to match. So I actually had my socks finished, but this bag is going to be used. I love switching around bags and changing the mood. My husband tells me it takes longer to set up a bag than it does for me to knit the socks, but anyway, hey ho. So that is all that I have that came in the post. I did order a couple of other things. They're not here yet, but we can chat about them the next time. Okay, I wanted to have a chat then just very quickly about Ravelry, because I don't know how long the first video was, and this one is 10 minutes. Okay, Ravelry. As I said, I'm not very good at keeping in touch with Ravelry. What I have decided, I've started to really keep my schedule much tighter, and I'm cutting down my time on social media. But what I am going to do is I am going to go on to Ravelry at least once a week. I'm going to make the day, I'm going to decide the day, and I'll let you know. I'll put it in down below when I decide the day. So that's when I'm going to pop on, when I'm going to add posts, when I'm going to reply to any questions if there are any, and where I'm going to read each post, and that way I'll not forget about it. But if I don't answer, that's why, because I'm just going to do it at a particular time. But I do want to open a thread, a question and answer thread, and that's for if you have any questions that you want to ask me within reason, pop them in there and I will answer one or two of them on each podcast. Anything within reason, knitting related, crafting related, farm related if you want. I suffer from fibromyalgia and I have a chronic back problem, so if there's anything even related to ME, fibro, that type of thing, I'm quite happy to chat about it. So I will open that later on today or tomorrow, and you can pop any questions in there that you would want to ask. I know Ellie does that, and I really enjoy the questions, so I thought it would be a good opportunity for you to get to know a wee bit more about me. The other thing then, the make-alongs are finished, so we definitely need another make-along, and this time of the year everybody talks about Christmas in July, so why not? We can have Christmas in July as well. So I had asked Lindsay would she fancy doing a make-along, that we would do it together, and she said yes, of course. So I met with her this morning on Zoom and we came up with the name and the hashtag and what we're going to do. So basically there's going to be a chatter and finished object thread in my Ravelry group, and there's also going to be one in Lindsay's, and Lindsay is Stitch, Create, Love, and all the details will be down below. I am going to host the knitting and crochet items that you want to enter, and Lindsay is going to host, as she said this morning, anything that is made with needle and thread. So that gives you a really wide spectrum. It doesn't have to, it can be English paper piecing, cross stitch, sewing, I presume dressmaking, origami, anything really that's felt work, anything that involves needle and thread. And I know she has plans to maybe even do some tutorials of different things, so that would give you an idea of suggestions that you could enter. So I thought that was pretty exciting, because I haven't seen a make along really that has sort of covered sewing in its entirety. So I think that'll be good. So share it among your friends and get them to take part if they do a lot of quilting and that type of thing. We're going to open the threads on the 25th of July, and it's going to run then to the 25th of November. And there'll be prizes for both threads, for the chatter and for the finished object thread. It needs to be something that it doesn't have to be a Christmas theme, but something that you are knitting for Christmas gifts. And the thread or the handle, the hashtag on Instagram is going to be, have I written it down? Yes, it's going to be Christmas Gifts Mal 2020, and I have a slide with it at the end here. And if you do include the 2020, because we're hoping that maybe if it's something that you enjoy, we can do it each year. So the threads will open on the 25th of July. I'm hosting the knitting and crochet aspect. Lindsay's opening the thread for all the sewing side of craft, and I really hope that goes well. I'm looking forward to it, and I do intend to try and take part a wee bit more if I can. So yes, that's the 2 new threads that are going to open in the Ravelry group, and I think I have basically covered everything. And by this stage, if you are still with me, thank you so much for staying with me. Thank you so much for subscribing, also for entering the make along, and I do hope you enjoy this podcast. I think I'll cut the chat out for another day, because I know we've sort of I've nattered on here for far too long, and I probably have covered everything in my Instagram feed as well. But I do hope you've enjoyed it, and I will be back again hopefully in my 2-week schedule. And as I say, if you want to be in touch with me anytime in between, don't forget you can leave a message down below, or you can get in contact with me privately. And really, if you do feel like joining Zoom, it would be lovely to have you along and get to know you a wee bit better that way. So happy crafting until we catch up again. Bye.